Let's bring in Rex Patrick, independent senator and also in a former life a submariner. Any reaction to this announcement? So a $10 billion base, existing defence money it's coming out of, and logically, I guess, based on the East Coast. Anything about this announcement surprise you at all?
Well, good morning, Tom. We're 13 years into the Future Submarine program. We've spent $3 billion. We won't get a submarine until 2040, and all that's been announced thus far is a study into the future nuclear-powered submarine, and now we've got a new announcement as to a study into where that future submarine will be based. Look, I'm very sceptical about it. It's based on a study that occurred back in 2011 that I've actually had access granted to under Freedom of Information laws. And the first place that the Navy want to have a submarine on the East Coast is Sydney, followed by Jervis Bay. So there's all sorts of politics riddled through this announcement.
What are you saying? Marginal seats, better to put a base somewhere where it's going to help out a marginal seat?
We don't even have to put something in a marginal seat. You simply have to announce that you're considering putting something in a marginal seat. So this is a very, very common ploy that is used prior to an election. And I think we're playing with national security, and I don't think that's a good idea. We've got a situation where we've got the Ukraine has erupted. It could well be the spark for the Taiwan-China tinderbox. We've got ships operating in the Arafura Sea, Chinese vessels operating in the Arafura Sea. We've got Chinese vessels regularly now visiting the Pacific Ocean to watch our exercises, particularly Talisman Sabre. We've got a problem right now, and yet we've got a situation where we've got a submarine that will be delivered in 2040. We've just had our Army Battle Management System cancelled. We've just had our Navy utility helicopter, the MRH-90 program cancelled. National security is a mess.
Right, but I mean, on the situation in terms of needing subs right now, that's fine to say. I mean, Labor for 6 years and then government for some time, it was a pretty slow process as well. So fair enough to criticise that, but from where we are right now, were you encouraged? For example, Peter Dutton seems adamant we're going to get the first of these subs well before 2040, and he was speaking about the capability gap as well, maybe, another Collins extension?
Well, look, I think the only real option that we have, and I said so much in a Senate committee report a week or so ago, is to actually have an interim solution that is an off-the-shelf solution. To go to either Japan or Germany or France and get an off-the-shelf solution to tie us over until the first of the nuclear-powered submarines arrive. Otherwise, we are hugely vulnerable. And this whole submarine thing is quite disturbing. As I said, 2009, this program was first announced with a view to starting construction in 2016. And yet we've basically gone nowhere with this.
Yeah, well, that can be a whack at both sides. It has been a long time coming. I guess on the flip side, if we'd started back then, we wouldn't have nuclear subs, would we? Certainly Labor wouldn't have agreed to it back then. I don't think anyone in the coalition was pushing for it. So has the delay got that benefit, that we've got subs that might be a better suited to our security future?
No, not at all. We need to have modern submarines right now because of what is happening in this situation that we find ourselves in. It's all well and good to pitch for a nuclear submarine sometime into the future and to plan for that, but it doesn't deal with the capability hole that we have right now. Look, in terms of the announcement today, it makes sense to have submarines built in Adelaide and operating out of both Perth and the East Coast. That is sensible. The difficulty here is that we simply are working with paper tigers. Our deterrent is basically announcements coming from the government, and that is no deterrent.
Just finally on the fuel excise, you've called this for to be cut. So I think the current fuel excise is about 44 cents a litre. You'd take 22 cents a litre off the price of petrol for every Australian, presumably. It would be welcome, but it's a huge cost to the budget when we already have huge debts and deficits into the future. Is it worth it?
We have to basically relieve families, small businesses that are dealing with really high fuel prices. Scott Morrison has put $16 billion aside in an election war chest to pork barrel. I want to take $6 billion of that and use it to basically help every Australian family, every Australian small business, and to do so in a manner that is equal right throughout Australia. It's something that must be done, otherwise we're going to have huge inflation problems.
Yeah. The $16 billion, I think a good half of that was already allocated for things such as contracts that couldn't be disclosed and so on. So I think you'd have to use more than that much money. But I guess just finally on this, I feel as though if the government announced this, you'd say it's a cynical election ploy just before to help voters on a short-term basis.
No. Again, this is about what's happening now, not something that's happening in 10 years' time. We need to address the problem of the high cost of living, of increased rental costs, increased food costs, increased school costs, and now we've got people struggling with $2 at the Bowser, and we've got to do something about that. This is not about future announcements. This is about solving a real problem right now.